Hello, welcome back to our podcast. In this edition, we'll talk about a very important novel, The Clockwork Orange, published in 1962.
The Clockwork Orange was written by Anthony Burgess in, as you said, in 1962. The relevance of this novel is that it criticizes the system of values of the time at which it was written. The book was banned in United Kingdom due to its movie, which was published in 1971.
As you mentioned, the movie was a big boom for the time it was released because it demonstrated the society, how we actually work as a society, and this was not accepted mostly by politics and so they banned it for 5 years in the UK as well as the book, and I consider this was like a great accomplishment for the director because the director Stanley Kubrick worked along with the writer in order to make the script of this movie, and they tried to represent how society is. I consider they made a great job.
I think what you're mentioning also relates to the fact that in the setting of the novel and the movie, there's a dystopia, because I think that can be connected with all the critical the values and how rotten, if you want to say in a way, society really is. And dystopia is perfect to represent that. And that can also introduce us to the themes of this novel, being dystopia being one of them.
Another thing that I consider that is present in the movie and in the novel is violence, because as it was shown, Alex and his droogs, meaning his friends, are pretty violent against women, against elderly people, and I think it represents the violence present in society. More specifically in teenagers.
One thing that I noticed in the language is what you mentioned before, the theme of violence, because I think Alex and his droogs, as he calls his friends, they use this language in a very aggressive way, mostly to insult other people when they are like committing crimes and all this stuff. And I also think like one of the themes is the role women has in this book. Like it is very, they give it like less importance than like to men, and they mostly portray like beauty in them. I don't think they portray like something important in them. You know what I mean?
An important thing that about you said about the topic of the violence is the music, because the violence is happening in the setting with the music, and this is an important symbol. And it is the type of music is classical music, and this is like in the movie and in the book is represent this music as a classical music, and this can be called as irony, because classical music, as we know, is calm, is order, harmony, but through the novel and through the movie we see all this violence, we see all these courageous, we see all these bad people. And another thing is like how Alex think about the classical music. He thinks, well, when he listens to classical music, he only wants to kill, he only wants to do bad things to the society. So I think it's very important to know this irony, because it is an important fact of the setting.
Yes, that is something of really great importance in the novel and in the movie too.
Well, I think that another theme that is present in this story is the topic of free will, because as it was shown, Alex does not choose to become good for the better good, rather to gain a personal benefit, and that's why he enters to the Ludovicos treatment.
And also with the Ludovicos treatment, he changed all his attitudes. Like with the music, he doesn't see the music as he used to. He sees like flashbacks of the horrible treatment that he passed, and now when he's listened to the classical music, to Beethoven, he only wants to kill himself. He wants to suffer himself, because with the treatment now he's like don't have the free will to listen to what he was used to like.
Yeah, this has to do with conditioning, because that's what the Ludovicos treatment is about. it teaches them to become good by hating the things that represent violence, and they did it with the movie, with the music as well, in order to make him like feel disgust and everything, so he would become a better person.
Yes, so I think we can all agree that he was manipulated to become good. And I think that is really, really funny in the way that he used to manipulate his drugs, his friends, to do all these violent things that he wanted. And now he's being manipulated to not do that violence. And I think it serves as a contrast to what he used to do. And also, something that we should talk about is about the morality and the ethics that relate, as we used to talk about, the context and the values of the society that was there.
Well, I think that morality is something that we should consider in this story, because it makes us question about whether it is okay to make a person go through the Ludovicus treatment, even though they're not changing their actual philosophy or way of thinking. They're rather just doing it because they want to protect themselves. So I think it's rather selfish than for the better good of society.
And the character that talks about the morality of this treatment is the priest. He says before Alex enters to this treatment that he needs a chance to change, not change with this treatment that is horrible, that is manipulating, but the person needs the free will to choose whether he will be a bad guy or a good guy.
Something that I think that it is important, it can be appreciated in the book, not in the movie, is that this morality comes with the maturity when you grow, and this can be observed when we know that Alex starts to grow and mature, and he notices that he doesn't want that it was wrong what he did before.
I think this is a very important thing, because as you mentioned, the book and the movie are not completely the same. The movie ends up in the chapter 20 of the book, and the 21, which is the sudden change, which is when Alex actually maturates. And I think it's important to add it, because even though it's a way to criticize society, I think it's important to mention that society tends to mature, and that's how we keep on going on. And we are not always going to be bad.
Yes, I think it's a sign of the author to try to make Alex finally good after all that has happened through the novel, and give it more of a happy ending, if you will. Also, something that we haven't discussed a while, going back to the social context of the story. We know it was published in 1962, and the Cold War was happening in that moment. So the two war powers were the Soviet Union and the US. So can somebody tell something about the influence in the language of the movie?
Well, I think the influence Natsat language has, it's like very important, because Natsat comes from Russia. And this highly influences the book and also the movie, because through the whole movie and the book we can see how they use like these specific words for specific things. But I also think they sometimes use it in an aggressive way. I don't know if that has something to do with this context, but they usually, I noticed, they usually use it in an aggressive way.
Also about the language, it helps us to identify with the character itself, with Alex, and to kind of understand it. Also, Natsat is used as a device to make the novel timeless. As we remember, in the novel and in the movie, Natsat was used by young men and child, and it wasn't understood by adults. So it helps it to be addressed to all kind of public.
Yes, just to add about the movie and the novel being timeless. All this slang and all this Natsat differs from the slang that it was from the era that the book was published, and because it is not an actual language and it was created by the author, makes the movie timeless because it's not attached to the era. Thank you. Also, as he mentioned, it distances adults from the young, from the youth, and that can be related to the characterization of the characters, because the way they reveal, like Alex and his drugs, they dress in a certain way to distance them because they don't want to be adults, they want to be young. They feel like because they are young, they have this power that can rule the world.
I think going a little bit back to the Cold War, I think that it's not only represented in both the movie and the book in the language. I think that there are some types of stereotypes that are linked to this because worldwide we have seen like the Russian people and society as strong and it could be said a little bit violent. And this is like a great thing that it's in the movie. As part of the United States stereotype, the people and the values that are mostly followed in the book, I consider they're more of a USA society. So I think it's another way for the author to express the Cold War without necessarily be linked to the language.
Talking about the difference between the movie and the book, well, there are some hidden symbols that can only be appreciated in the movie. As we may see in the movie, there is a scene where Alex knocks the door of a woman that he wants to rape and to be violent with. And when he knocks the door, he represents the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, and it can only be appreciated in those terms. Also, in the movie, also when Alex is with his band of friends in the bar drinking milk, and a woman is singing another symphony of Beethoven, and it is like a really good symbol to be appreciated in the movie.
Yes, so going back to everything that we have talked about the irony that the music brings because of being classical. We also have talked about the literary device of Natset and how it relates to the social context of the Cold War. And we also have talked about how the book and the movie differs, about the movie not having the 21 chapter and how things are represented differently. Going to the themes, we have talked about violence that I think we can all agree that is the most present theme throughout the novel. Also the comparison and the contrast of free will and conditioning, and how Alex manipulates his friends and then he is manipulated to be good. We have talked about the critic of the author to the morality and the ethics and also the values of the American society during the Cold War. We also have talked about how the dystopia is a perfect setting to do that critic, and that it is a really important theme throughout the novel because it as I say, it forms an axis between the universe of the story and the critic. We also have talked about how Alex and his droogs dress and the way they act as a rebellion, because something about the social context is that this was a revolution throughout the world, this era, the 1960s. So anything you want to add up to what we have said?
So I believe that this book was the opposite of appreciated in his time, his era, because many people believe that this book was bad to the society, that the society would turn like the Alex and his gang. So they didn't see that this was like a criticize to a dystopian novel.
You mean that instead it motivated the society to become like Alex or something like that?
Yes, but thankfully right now, time and era that we live, it is recognized as one of the most important novels of the English literature. So thank you for watching us, and we'll see you later in the next episode. Bye bye.